So the last thing for the vehicle is the external inspection of all of the other components that aren't inside the engine. So we're going to start our way from front to back. You only have to go down one side. If there was anything different on the other side, you would point that out, but it's the same on this vehicle, so we're just going to go down the driver's side. So we're going to start with the steering assembly, that whole situation. So the steering box, you have to check that the steering box is securely mounted and is not leaking. So you're looking for any missing nuts, bolts, or cotter keys.
All right, so your steering box is going to be connected to this tie rod, following towards the middle and all the way to the other side. You can grab it here and make sure that it's sturdy. If you can reach in the middle as well. Those metal hoses are going to be, you want to make sure those are secure. There's no leaks or anything coming from that area, and make sure that there's no leaks from the steering column itself.
And then check for power steering fluid leaks or damage to power steering hoses.
Yeah. So the power steering hoses are going to be actually from the steering column to the power steering pump in the engine bay. These are going to be your power steering lines, and they connect to your power steering pump. Okay, so you want to check these hoses as well as the hard metal ones that route to the power steering pump.
And then just in general, again, anytime it's fluid, you're always checking for no puddle on the ground, so there's no obvious sign of a leak in that way. So the next thing will be the steering linkage. See that connecting links, arms, and rods from the steering box to the wheel are not worn or cracked.
Okay, so the steering linkage is also going to connect to the steering box assembly as well, or the steering column. And I know I'm getting under the car, but this one has kind of a tricky steering linkage, and it connects right here. If you can see that, this is your steering linkage assembly that connects to the steering box. You see that? Where the highlighter is? Right there.
So you're going to check that joints and sockets are not worn or loose, and that there are no missing nuts, bolts, or cotter keys for the steering linkage in your check under there. So the next thing is the suspension. So for this vehicle, we've got springs in the front and regular like coil springs in the front and leaf springs in the back. So we're going to start with the front axle.
Okay, so this is going to be your strut here. This whole assembly right here, your spring, your strut, all the way down to connect to your hub. You want to ensure that there's no cracks, no leaks, or anything broken on it. You can grab it and shake it, ensure that it's sturdy, and it should not move at all.
So we're looking for broken or distorted coil springs. And then if, let's see, and then so as we move along to the back of the vehicle, you're checking for missing, shifted, cracked, or broken leaf springs. If 1/4 or more are missing or broken, it will put this vehicle out of service.
These are the leaf springs right here. As you can see, there's a set of them. None of these ones are broken or cracked, but as she said, if we say 1/4 of them, if 1/4 of them are missing or cracked, then that makes it out of service.
And then we'll check for mounts. So we're looking for cracked or broken spring hangers, missing or damaged bushings, or broken, loose, or missing bolts, U-bolts, or other axle mounting parts. The mounts should be checked at each point where they are secured to the vehicle frame and axles.
Okay, so your axles are going to extend to your to the wheel assembly, and this one would be a little easier for me. I'm sorry. So, okay, yeah. So these are your. This is your axle assembly. This is a rear-wheel drive vehicle, so the power goes to the rear wheels. You want to ensure that all these nuts are tight and there's no leaks or anything cracked back here, and the mounts are tight and everything's connected, essentially.
No missing U-bolts.
And no missing U-bolts.
So for the shock absorbers, the struts actually do have a fluid or an oil inside. Again, you're checking for anything like that to have a leak. So you would see if there was a buildup or any kind of corrosion or gross ickiness coming out of it, you would know that it was leaking, but this is clean and dry, so we know it's fine, there's no leaks. For the wheels themselves, we're going to check the brakes. So we're looking to verify that there's no broken, loose, or missing parts. For the wheels, we can take off take off a hubcap and check that the wheel itself is securely attached. There's no rust trails where any of the lug nuts are. That would indicate that something was loose and not fit well. Our pressure for this vehicle, it actually says on the inside of the door what the proper pressure is. For the front and rear tires, it's different, and you would use a tire pressure gauge to verify that it is at the proper level.
49 and 74.
49 psi in the front and 74 in the rear. So for the front tires, you have to verify that it is at least 4/32 of an inch deep in the tread, and in the rear it has to be 2/32 of an inch. The stem is in good condition. It's not cracked or worn. There's no cuts in the tires. These tires haven't been retreaded at all. They're new. The sidewalls aren't damaged, and there's no components are missing. We also check to make sure that the rims aren't damaged or bent. They can't have any welding repairs, and again, they don't have any rust indicating that anything is not attached properly. The brakes themselves have to be checked to ensure that we aren't leaking any brake fluid. The brake lines are back behind the wheel.
This is your brake line.
And we're looking for cracked, worn, or leaking hoses, lines, or couplings.
Right there.
And see that the brake chambers are not leaking, cracked, or dented, and are securely mounted.
This is your brake chamber or piston.
And see that there are no loose or missing clamps.
Grab it, shake it.
And for drum brakes, we're checking for cracks, dents, or holes, and also checking for loose or missing bolts. Any kind of contaminants such as oil or grease, and that the brake linings, where visible, which you can see through the wheel here, that they are not pitted or worn dangerously thin. The lug nuts, again, all securely attached, free of any cracks or distortions, show no signs of looseness, and no bolt holes are cracked or distorted. Anything that has any liquid, like the hub oil seals and axle seals, again, you have to verify that there's nothing leaking. So from behind the wheel, you can see that, again, there's no signs of drips, no buildup of any kind of liquid material or dirt that shows that it's leaking. Spacers and bud spacing, if equipped, check that spacers are not bent, damaged, or rusted through. They must be evenly centered with dual wheels, and we don't have dualies, so that's not an issue for us. All right, so we are going to go along the side of the vehicle. The fuel tank is right here, and we're checking that the cap is securely attached. We have a capless fuel tank, so we've got no issue there. This closes fine, no problem, nothing in it that shouldn't be. The drive shaft, we're going to check that the drive shaft is not bent or cracked. The couplings or U-joints are secure and free of foreign objects. There's no debris wrapped around the drive shaft.
So as you're under the vehicle, the drive shaft is going to be this large component here that connects to the differential.
And we're going to check